Why would you go to Pakistan?
Wait, are you serious?
I just would never ever choose to go there.
Wait, you're going all the way to Pakistan?
Are you crazy?
Are you going alone?
Pakistan?
I can't believe you're going to Pakistan.
Do you even know anyone in Pakistan?
Like, I'm genuinely
What is
concerned.
even all the way to Pakistan?
Those were the reactions I would get from people when I told them that I was going to Pakistan, especially from people from the United States or people from the West in general. It's crazy because I live in Thailand, but I'm originally from New York City, and any of the Thai people that I told that I was traveling to Pakistan were like, oh my God, such a beautiful country, and they were so excited for me to go. But anytime I told somebody from the United States that I was traveling to Pakistan, they would be like, excuse me, where are you going? Are you crazy? Why are you going there? So it's really interesting to see the differences between the reactions from the people from the East versus people from the West. So why did I choose to travel to Pakistan? That is probably the number one question that I get when I told people that I went there or that I was planning to travel there. Why did I choose to travel to Pakistan? And the reason is more meaningful than you probably think. So a lot of influencers are going there now because of the beautiful landscapes and the beautiful scenery, which are definitely valid and amazing reasons to visit Pakistan. But my reason is actually completely different. So before I moved to Thailand, I was living in New York City. That's where I was born and raised. And I was a high school math teacher for the New York City Department of Education for almost 10 years. And I worked in a high school, a small high school called Brooklyn Studio, and that school was located in Bensonhurst, which is a neighborhood in Brooklyn. And the school that I worked at, as well as many schools in the same neighborhood, had a large population of Pakistani students. And I remember I was a fairly new teacher. It was my third year teaching, but it was my first year that they gave me an actual serious position as the 9th grade algebra teacher. So I remember being new, and I remember that position feeling like a lot of pressure for me because 9th grade algebra is the foundation for all high school math, and that made me responsible for laying that foundation for the students. So as only a third year teacher, still fairly new, I was very nervous about the job. And that year, there was a group of Pakistani students that I became very, very close to. And at that time in my career, it was really, really important for me to form those relationships with my students to kind of validate that I was doing the right thing and that I was being a good teacher to them. So mind you, that was 8 years ago at this point. And as that school year went on, and as the year progressed, I just got closer and closer with that group of students. Let me shout them out right now. Shout out to Aisha, Noor, Tareem, Mustafa, Mahfouz. That was the OG group, okay? That was the original group that inspired this idea. And throughout that academic school year, I remember there being so much downtime, like at the end of the day, where they would come to my room and we would just chat, and they would teach me so much about their culture. And they would talk so much about Pakistan and the way they spoke about it. They spoke about it with so much love, and they were so excited to teach me about their culture. I remember they would teach me words in Urdu, and I can't even remember all the words, but one phrase that will always stick with me is amki petti, which means a box of mangoes. And the reason why I remember that is because one of the students, Mustafa, his father owned a bodega in Brooklyn, And he used to always bring me Reese's peanut butter cups because that was my favorite. And he would joke around as if he was bribing me to increase his grade when, mind you, he didn't need to bribe me. He was absolutely brilliant. And the students would tell me that in Pakistan, that he wouldn't give Reese's peanut butter cups, but he would give amki peti, a box of mangoes, to the teacher to bribe them to boost his grade. So that's the one phrase that I do remember from back then. But anyway, it was a full year of getting really, really close and forming a really strong and meaningful bond with this group of students. And the more they talked about Pakistan and the more they talked about their culture, and the more I got to know them, I learned that this group of kids were a group of really incredible humans. And I just knew that one day I had to see where they came from, because wherever they came from, that place produced some of the most amazing humans that I have ever met. So 8 years ago, that experience and those relationships is what sparked the idea in my head of one day I have to visit Pakistan. I have to visit Pakistan, and I need to know and learn where these students came from, because that group of students really, really touched my heart. And it was at a time in my career where I really needed to form those relationships because I was insecure about my practice. I was very new to it. So 8 years ago, that's what sparked the idea. It was just an idea in my head, and I didn't know how I was going to make it there yet, and I didn't know what it would look like or anything. It was just an idea. And I remember even telling people that I surrounded myself with at the time that I wanted to go to Pakistan one day, people that I used to travel with, and they said I was absolutely crazy. But 8 years later, that idea just never left my mind. It never left my heart. If anything, over the years, that idea got stronger and stronger, and that pull to Pakistan got greater. And as the years went on, during my time working at Brooklyn Studio, I formed relationships with other Pakistani students. So, shout out to Suleiman. Suleiman was one of the students who really also inspired me to go. This was a few years later that I taught him. And Suleiman, you're a little pain in my butt. Okay, you were a little pain in my butt sometimes. But no other student really made me laugh like you. I think all the other teachers were annoyed with this student, but I don't know. I have a sense of humor. I like joking around. But anyway, Suleiman was another student, and I remember during downtime, I would ask him questions about Pakistan because I was just so curious. And as my years at Brooklyn Studio went by, and the more Pakistani students I taught and formed relationships with and built bonds with, and we built trust together, that curiosity and that it wasn't even a desire anymore. It was a need. Like, I need to see Pakistan. It just grew stronger and stronger. So again, when I was living in New York City, I didn't know what that would look like, how I would make it there. It's a much longer journey when you're living in the United States, and when you're living in the United States and you're brainwashed by Western media, it seems so far out of reach. And then 2 years ago, I moved halfway across the world, and I moved to Thailand all by myself without knowing a single soul. And that was the scariest thing that I've ever done in my life. And because I moved halfway across the world by myself and I took that risk, I'm really just not scared to do anything anymore. And not that I was ever scared to go to Pakistan. It just seemed like it was so hard to navigate for me. But now that I navigated the hardest thing that I've ever done so far, anything else is just easy for me to do. So I made a promise to myself that when I moved to Asia, Pakistan was the number one thing on my bucket list. And I was just like, now I'm so much closer, I can fly direct from Bangkok. I have to make this happen now. So then my in-depth research really began. And I knew I had to figure out a way to make this happen. Planning a trip to Pakistan is not a casual trip. It's, there are many countries that I can go to with no plan, and I can just roll up there as if I've lived in the country forever, and I can just go with the flow. But I knew Pakistan was going to be the adventure of my entire life. So I did have to put a lot of TLC in the research and the preparation for it. So flash back to last summer, right? Summer of 2025. I was supposed to go to Pakistan then. So I was supposed to go to Pakistan a year ago. And I was supposed to go on a group trip, and I was communicating back and forth with the person who was in charge of the tour. They knew that I was very serious and that I wanted to go no matter what. And I almost booked my flights, which, flights are non-refundable. And the day before I was going to book them, I got a message that the trip was being canceled. So that's because they couldn't get enough people to join the tour. So at that point, I had saved my money for the trip. I was ready to book. I was ready to pay. I was really, really disappointed. But I said, let me take this money and let me put it aside, because I'm going to try again next year. I'm going to try again next summer. So I stayed in contact with the company. I mean, I've literally harassed these people for 2 years. So they knew that I was serious and that I wanted to come so bad. I mean, they didn't even know that it was an 8-year dream of mine. They didn't even know the story. And the urgency I felt to see Pakistan, they didn't even know the whole story. They just knew that, I'm the crazy lady who has been blowing up their Instagram DMs and their emails, and that I really want to go. So again, it was supposed to be a group trip, and they told me that they weren't canceling it no matter what. So I paid, I booked it, I booked the flights, I got the visa, I trained in the gym, I did all the necessary things. And it turns out that once again, everybody canceled except for me. And, that's due to Western media, right? Western media brainwashes you that this would be a dangerous place to visit. And, there's a lot of conflict, and I think it scared people away. But this time they didn't cancel on me. They didn't want to cancel on me 2 years in a row, because they knew how much I wanted to go to Pakistan. And they didn't even know the reasons why. So they didn't cancel on me, and it ended up being just me, which honestly was the ideal situation for me. I hate to come off a certain way, but I absolutely hate group trips. I like to travel solo. I like to be on my own time, and I like to do whatever I want. And, I was shooting content the whole time that I'm there, and I don't want to feel rushed and that people are waiting for me. So it was really like, I feel really blessed that all of this happened and that all of this aligned, because it ended up being the perfect trip for me. So I was happy that I was the only one on the trip. And by the way, the only reason why I hired a company, the only reason why I hired a guide is because I spent a lot of time in northern Pakistan doing the hikes. And the biggest fear I had traveling to Pakistan was Mother Nature, because Mother Nature is a beast. And the reality is these hikes are no casual hikes. They are no walk in the park. You can get lost, you can go off trail, and you can die if you go off the trail. There was a Japanese guy who just recently died in Skardu, hiking Marsa Rock, because he went off the trail. And that was my biggest fear. I was never scared to go to Pakistan alone because of the people, because of the environment. The only reason why I wanted a guide was for somebody to take me on the hikes, because if you're alone on these hikes and you get injured or you get lost and nobody might ever find you. So I just want to make it clear that that was the only reason why I felt inclined to hire somebody, not because of any other reason. So that's what I did, and I'm so happy that I did, because that's what led me to meet Ali. Ali was the one who took me around all of Pakistan, and he was literally the best. I mean, this man went above and beyond to show me the best trip of my entire life. And I mean it when I say it was the number one best trip of my entire life. And I cannot wait to show you all of the content that I took. I've been really, really reflecting, and I don't think I've had a better 2 weeks in my entire life. I had the time of my life, and I was so sad to leave. And the crazy thing is that when I lived in New York City and I would travel, I would never want to go home because I hated my home. And at the end of every trip, I was sad and I didn't want to leave. But when I moved to Thailand, anytime I've traveled, I was excited to go home because now I love my home. I love where I live, and I have to go home at the end of a trip, but at least I get to come home to Thailand. Pakistan was the first place that I visited after moving to Thailand where I didn't want to go home. I did not want to go home. I wasn't ready. And I'm not done with Pakistan. I will 100% be back, and I don't know what that looks like yet. And I'm trying to figure out, how can I make it back there and also see a new country. But there is some type of pull and connection that I feel to that country. And I just know that I'm not done. It was just incredible. So back to the whole point of this video, right? Why did I choose to go to Pakistan? As a teacher and as an educator, I always feel inclined to inspire my students. It's my mission to motivate them, to inspire them, to touch them. But what these students didn't realize is that they were the ones who inspired me. They were the ones that touched my heart, and that will stick with me for the rest of my life. The effect that they have had on me will stay in my heart until the day that I die. And I'm so happy that I actually was able to recently get in touch with them. I got in touch with them while I was in Pakistan. So it was my guide, Ali, who actually pushed me and encouraged me to try to find them. And I didn't know how I was going to find them. I didn't know what their Instagrams were or anything. But you have to keep in mind that that first group, Aisha, Noor, Tareem, Mustafa, that was 8 years ago that I taught them. So they were 14 years old. Now they're like 22. They're all grown up. They're absolutely gorgeous. I cannot even believe how grown and beautiful they are. But one night when I actually had Wi-Fi, I did a little deep diving into Instagram, and I found one of the students, Mahfouz. So shout out to you, Mahfouz. And all I needed was the one. And I reached out to him, and he connected me with a lot of the other students that I was trying to find. And then it kind of just blew up. I messaged them and I told them that, I'm here in Pakistan, and, 8 years ago when I was your teacher and I told you that I wanted to visit one day, you probably thought I would never make it, but 8 years later and I finally made it, and they went crazy. They couldn't believe that I actually did it. They probably thought all those years ago I was just talking. A lot of people talk and there's no action behind it, but I'm a doer. If I say I'm gonna do something, I always do it. Even if it takes me 8 years, right? Some things take me longer than others. This goal, this dream, it took me 8 years, but I did it. And they could not believe that some of them couldn't even believe that I remembered them. Suleiman was like, oh, I can't believe you remembered me. Suleiman, how could I forget you? How could I forget you? And there's also Zane. Shout out to Zane. Okay, Zane drew the best house ever. Okay, so if Zane is watching, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Zane drew the best house ever when he was in 9th grade. But anyway, all the students, they were so excited to hear that after all these years, everything that they told me and everything that they taught me stuck with me, and that I didn't give up, and that I was 100% serious about seeing where they came from. So it was just so nice to reconnect with them. And after all these years, 8 years later, they're all grown up, they're full-blown adults. They still have the same most genuine souls that they did when they were 14. And just now that we connect and, we stay in touch on Instagram, and I see that, they've grown, they've definitely grown up, but their hearts are still the same. It's just validation as to why I felt the need to go to Pakistan all those years because of them. And, guys, if you are watching, I could literally cry, but, I do want to tell you how much I do love you, and how much you guys changed my life as an educator. You gave me the confidence to teach the way that I teach. You gave me the validation that I was doing the right thing, that I was being a good teacher when, it was a time of my career where I had so many doubts. So I am forever grateful for you guys. You mean the world to me, and I absolutely love and adore you, and I'm so happy to see how much you guys have all grown up, and I'm so proud of all of you, and I can never thank you enough for what you've given me as a teacher, what you've given me as a human. So if you guys are watching, I just need you to know how much I truly love and adore each and every one of you. But yeah, so even when I was traveling around Pakistan, I would meet so many locals, and the locals really wanted to talk to me, and, they wanted to ask me, where are you from and why are you here? And I would always tell the same story about it being my 8-year dream and my students from New York City. And Ali, my guide, this poor man, heard my story so many times. But, I would always get the same reaction from the locals, and they thought my story was so beautiful, and which it is. I think the story is so beautiful, it's so meaningful, it's so personal to me. It's not just because of some photos that I saw on Instagram. So the locals, they really, really did appreciate my reason for being there. And I was filming content the whole time that I'm there. I'm working on this docu-series for Pakistan, and I really want to show people, especially people in the US and especially people in the West, that Pakistan is not what you think it is. It's not what Western media has portrayed it to be. And I really want to encourage everybody to visit. Those of you who know me know that I have traveled a lot. I have been to many countries, and this one, I kid you not, has been my favorite country yet. I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. You know, if the flights weren't so expensive, I'd be booking my flight back tomorrow. Okay. And, you know, back to the locals, the hospitality is insane there. You know, you could just be walking and, you know, people invite you to come have chai and come have a chat, or come to their birthday party, come to their engagement party. The hospitality is top notch. And I felt that with every local that I met. You know, you're on these hikes and all the locals, you know, it's a lot of domestic tourists. Foreign tourists do go there, but it's obviously not the most touristy place in the world. But the locals and the domestic tourists, you walk past them, they say, hello, how are you? I'm sorry, but I grew up in New York City and nobody says hello to you. I worked in a public school for almost 10 years, and my colleagues, my coworkers would walk by me in the hallway and put their head down and pretend like they don't even know me after, you know, sucking up to me in a staff meeting with the administration there. Like, people are wild in New York. People are wild in the United States. But in Pakistan, people are still human. But anyway, now I've gone on such a tangent, but that is the story as to why I chose to travel to Pakistan. And, you know, it's been a journey. And what started as just an idea that many people called a crazy idea in my head 8 years ago turned into one of the best experiences of my entire life. And, you know, some of the best 2 weeks that I've ever had. And that is no exaggeration. So one more time, I want to say thank you to Aisha, Noor, Tareem, Mustafa, Mahfouz, Suleiman, Zain, Wanitse, and so many of the other amazing Pakistani students from Brooklyn Studio who truly touched my heart and changed my life all those years ago. You were young then, and you probably had no idea the impact that you had on me, as I was also trying to make an impact on you. But you did, and you know, our bond and our relationship is something that will stick with me for the rest of my life. I'm forever grateful for you guys. And thank you so much for inspiring me to visit your absolutely beautiful and incredible country. This whole experience, and when I say this whole experience, I mean the entire 8-year journey, right, of when it started as an idea, has truly changed my life. And I hope that if you're watching and you continue to watch my future videos, if you have the wrong idea of Pakistan, if you're brainwashed by Western media, I hope that by watching my videos, I can show you how misunderstood this country is. And I hope I can inspire you to visit Pakistan yourself one day, because I wish that everybody could have the same experience as me. I mean, it was truly, truly life-changing. And I cannot wait to go back. I know for sure one day I will be back in Pakistan. So stay tuned for my upcoming episodes. of my docuseries, my documentary that I'm creating on Pakistan. I have some really, really epic content. So if you're interested in continuing to see and learn and hear about one of the most misunderstood regions of the world, if you want to see all of my crazy, epic Pakistan adventures, make sure to like and subscribe to get notified about my upcoming Pakistan videos, as well as other travel and Thailand content that I have coming out soon.